Good morning. Lesson 1-4, compare ratio relationships. So now we have been making ratio relationships. We have been writing equivalent ratio relationships. We learned to graph ratio relationships. And now we're going to compare. And here comes one of your big pieces of advice as a 6th grader in math. Remember, if I write, you write. In order to compare. So in order to make a comparison, in order to compare, they must share. Okay, big advice. In order to compare, they must share. Well, they got to share something. In order to make a very good comparison, they have to share something, and then we could just compare one item. All right, so let's actually do this one. I think this is a good example for us. Ratios for ingredients in a dog food vary among companies that manufacture it. Company A, we're going to make a table. Company A advertises 25 grams of protein for every cup of dry dog food. So we've got the dog food and the protein. 25 grams of protein for every cup, 1 cup of dog food. How did I know to do it in that order? Well, I cheated and I looked over here, but also they said dog food second, so I know that's my X. The relationship between protein and cups of dog food for 2 other companies are shown in the table and the graph. So let's get them all into a table. B, check, it's in a table. C, dog food, protein. Okay, looks like 1 cup of dog food here is 20 grams of protein. Now, in order to compare, they must share. So first, they're all in the same format. Check. That's shared. That helps. Now we look for a number to be the same. Well, 1 cup, not 1 cup. 20, 25, no 20 or 25. So here's my suggestion. Let's figure out how much 1 cup of this is. So we'll just go extend our table. How would we get from 2 to 1? Divide by 2. So we can now apply that relationship here to create an equivalent ratio. 44 divided by 2 is 22. So for company B, 1 cup has 22 grams of protein. Now, get to the question. Where's my question? How can you compare? Did that. The ratio did that. Which company has the most protein per cup of dog food? B has 22 for 1 cup. A has 25 and C has 20. So who's the greatest? A. A has the most protein per 1 cup of dog food. Now, sometimes you're going to get a graph and it's going to have all 3 of these things graphed. How can you make this comparison and know this just from the graph? So let's look below at the graph. Okay, in this graph, can I zoom in for you a little bit? Okay, in this graph, company A is blue, company B is green, and company C is red. And they all start at the origin, and then they've plotted all their points. So how can we tell that A has the most? Because it is the steepest line. If you had to climb these 3 mountains, A would be the steepest mountain to climb, and B would be the shallowest. So A has the most protein, or has the bigger ratio. Okay? A has the most. And you can tell that just by looking at the graph. You could also find a cup that they all have the same. Like here they plotted, they all had 2 cups, and you can see these numbers here. A has the most for every 2 cups of protein, because here's 40, maybe a little 44, and then 50. All right? Let's skip ahead then over to the check on page 32. Ooh, better zoom out a pinch. Okay, so the check on page 32. When working on homework, Bailey spends 15 minutes reading for every 20 minutes spent on math. Stop what you're doing and record that information. Bailey. They have a table set up for Bailey. Whoa, Misty, this is a horizontal table. I know, guys. It's the same as the vertical one. It's just taken a nap. It lied down, okay? Bailey spent 15 minutes reading. Bailey, reading, 15. For every 20 minutes spent on math. 20 on math. All right, let's get to the next sentence. So we took care of that. Aisha spent 12 minutes reading for every 15 minutes of math. Aisha, 12 minutes reading, 15 minutes of math. And Tyler spends 7 minutes reading for every 10 minutes of math. 7 minutes for 10 minutes of math. That's just taking English to Mathless, you guys, okay? Sometimes you're going to have to know to create these tables on your own. And can you create 3 tables? Yes. Is it a little bit more work? Yes. Is it necessary? Probably a really good idea. Which person has the greatest ratio of minutes spent on reading to minutes spent on math? Okay. This word means that we're working with a comparison, a ratio. And then when this comes last, that number needs to be the same amongst all the things we're comparing. They're telling you which one to have same because it's the one that comes last. How do we know that? We just practice that, and then we start remembering it with practice, okay? So we've got to look at 20, 15, and 10 and try to decide what multiple of each number would be the same. Here's what you do. You find the least common multiple. The what, Misty? I know. It's called least common multiple. We can do it in this chart probably. So 20 times 1 is 20. 20 times 2 is 40. 20 times 3 is 60. 20 times 4 is 80. And 20 times 5 is 100. So I like to find the first 5 multiples first, and then we can look at later. Don't fill these in yet. Promise, okay? I'm trying to keep you from doing extra work. You're welcome. All right, 15 times 1 is 15, times 2 is 30, times 3 is 45. If you don't know that, look on your multiplication chart or use your calculator. 15 times 4 is 60, 15 times 5 is 75. And 10, hopefully you know this from being a little kid. If you don't, follow the steps we did before. Okay, now do they share a number yet? Nope, no 10s, no 15s, no 20s, no 30s, no 40s, nothing shared. Well, these two have a 60. Does 10 go into 60? Yes, 10 times 6 is 60. Now we have found one that they all share. In order to compare, they must share, okay? So now we only need to find the corresponding amounts of reading with the 60. We don't need all this other stuff. You're welcome to do it, but you don't have to, okay? So how do we get from 10 to 60? Times by 6. So what do we have to do to the 7? Times by 6. 7 times 6? 42. How do we get from 15 to 60? 15 times 1, times 2, times 3, times 4. Oh, it's times 4. So 12 times 4 is 48. And how do you get from 20 to 60? 1, 2, 3. So 15 times 3 is 45. Now that we have the same amount of math, we can compare the reading and who has the greatest or the most reading if the math is all the same. Is 45 bigger than 48? No, not Bailey. Is 48 bigger than 42? Yes, so not Tyler. Aisha has the greatest ratio. Answer in a box. Okay, good luck.